Buy my novel, Escape from the Village, from major booksellers online. Go to escapevillage.com. Subscribe to my Substack. Go to fountainheadforum.substack.com. Thank you. Welcome to the Party Pal. This is Fountainhead Forum 111. I've got Andrés Carbonell, who is also has his own channel under his name. He discusses health issues. I discovered a video, though, where he asks, are liberals happier? And he talked about a lot about Javier Milei and Milton Friedman. So he's a Milei fan. And we're going to do an analysis of Javier Milei's first presidential debate, which was on Sunday, first day of October. And there's going to be a second debate Sunday on the 8th of October. Mm-hmm. And then 2 weeks after that debate, we'll have the election. So how are you, Andres?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. And yeah, I'm looking forward.
And you're originally from Panama, but now you're in Germany. So how did you, before we do get into debate analysis, I do want to know, how did you discover Milei?
Yeah, it was kind of random as well. I think I was watching one video of a political thing about some other country. And then someone wrote in the comments like, oh, I hope that the change will come in Argentina with Javier Milei. And then the name just stayed there because someone just wrote it in a random video. And then I watched some video about he talking about like his whole liberal economics and libertarian ideas. And then the elections came, the past elections. So I kind of got excited again that someone is bringing this debate about liberal economics and libertarian. And he's quite a charismatic guy. I don't know how fluent in Spanish you are, but like once you hear talking, it can engage people. And some people don't like that because he's kind of too, let's say, he's very emotional and passionate. But I really like that because I feel like it kind of shows what many people in Latin America feel, or in general in the world, that they want to bring new ideas, bring the debate. And he's a very smart guy that can explain economics and in a way that is also fun. Like he invent names for everything, and he kind of try to explain economics in a way that people can understand, and especially in Argentina because it's a special situation of the inflation and the currency there and his solution. So it kind of bring people together. And what I think is interesting is that in Argentina, it's kind of like it's getting popular. I mean, I don't live in Argentina, I've not been there, but like the fact that the libertarian candidate, it's teaching economics, it tells a lot about what the country wants. You know, they suffered inflation, so people get involved in reading about economics of what's the reason, and then he comes as the person that can explain it properly, and that's bringing a lot of people together.
Yeah, some people have said that Milei has already won, even though he hasn't won, just because there's just because of the impact that he's made on the discussion and on the discourse. So this debate was about 2 hours. It's on several YouTube channels. I went to Toto Note to CS, which has which actually I didn't try other ones, but you can actually bring up the whole debate, and if you're an English speaker, you can choose the subtitle option. It does it is definitely an education in Spanish as well, but
yeah,
it just takes practice. But it was an interesting format. You know what's really interesting too. I don't know if I ever watched a debate where they changed mods in the middle of the debate. That was kind of, I mean, there was about an hour with one man and one woman. Then they had the second hour with another man and one man, another woman. And then on the screen, they even changed the sign language interpreter, which I thought was, I don't know what the point of that was, but maybe they just figured nobody can do a debate for an hour. So the debate started out with every candidate having, there were 5 candidates.
Yeah.
And we had, and I don't know if this was done on purpose or not, but we had Patricia Bregman, that's Patricia Bregman.
Miriam Bregman.
Yeah. Or what would you say?
Miriam Bregman.
Miriam Bregman. Yeah. I don't know why I said Patricia. Oh, Patricia Bullrich. We had Miriam Bregman on the left, who is basically a communist and still is. I don't know if that was an accident or not. And we had Sergio Massa, who's more or less part of the establishment right now, and was there. And I don't know what it is, but that guy looked like, for almost the whole debate, looked like he had a broomstick up his ass. I mean, he just looked so. He looked so tight and stiff. It's just so weird. And then we had Patricia Bullrich, who's who has an interesting history. Apparently, she was also involved with some of the similar types that Bregman was involved. Some of these youth groups who were making a lot of trouble and stirring up the pot up for communism too. But she's one of those reformed ones, which I truly wonder how many of them actually are reformed, but you never know. And then we had Juan Schiaretti or Schiaretti. He's the governor of Cordoba. He's the governor of Cordoba. Definitely, and he's got an interesting resume too, because his father was supported the Peronists, and then he and Bullrich also. They were actually out of the country for a while. Because so they understand what it's like to fight to their they understand what it's like though to fight and be exiled from your country. So although it looks like Schiaretti was, I don't know if he actually did, just his father was exiled right after there was a coup against Perón in the 50s. So he also knows how ugly things can get. And then of course on the right we had Javier Milei. Interesting too. I noticed also I'd not seen Milei with glasses, but he was wearing glasses for this debate. I guess he normally does wear glasses, or maybe he was trying to create the college professor look to a certain extent.
Could
they
give a different signal? Yeah.
I don't know. Milei seems like he's very conscious of his look and how he appears. So I did find that interesting. The first time I've seen Milei wearing glasses. So we started out with, and the debate, I did like this format in a lot of ways. I started out with every candidate, with 1 minute to talk about what they were going to do. And Milei, I thought, really went right into it. And he explained, that needs are not rights. I thought that was amazing and very, very courageous, but true, and explained why needs aren't rights, because, you have a right to talk. You have a right to, pray. You have a right to do these things. The rights are actions. They're not. There's no rights to objects, or anything. I thought that was good. But then he, toward the end, he said, in 15 years, I can make us as rich as France or Italy. In 20 years, Germany. In 35 years, the USA. I thought that was good too. He said, we're going to get richer, but it's not going to happen overnight.
I think.
But he said, stay. So I think that was so.
Bring honesty, at least to his proposals, or like more realistic.
Yeah. There's a realistic optimism about it. It's not saying we're going to be rich, although but it's also better to underpromise.
Yeah.
I mean, if Argentina is as rich as the USA in 20 years, everybody's going to say, "Oh, Milei, he underestimated us," But if he said 20 years and 35 years, said, Milei, you lied to us. We're not that. Just like yesterday when I had I had to upgrade the hard drive on my laptop, and they told me it takes 24 to 48 hours. And 3 hours later, call me, "Oh, we're done." Well, good. It's like, yeah. So then afterwards,
make you feel well, right?
Yeah. And this debate and then they go into the and then we go into the format also where they had three themes. So everybody was talking for 1 minute on this particular theme. And this was also where Milei, and the first theme was the economy. And every candidate also had 5 replies available to them. And I think their replies were 45 seconds or something like that.
Yeah. Which I think is also, the format is strange.
Yeah. So everybody had 5 replies. And I noticed during the economic portion, Milei used all 5 of his replies during that, because I think he gets that this is what voters are thinking about. This is what's on their mind, and really, and they are concerned about the economy and where it's going.
And he was first there. I don't know if that was randomly chosen, but he was the first to talk.
Yeah.
And of course got attacked by every single candidate there because had the different ideas there.
I think, I definitely think everybody attacked him. And the fact when you're getting attacked in a debate like that, it really does show that you are really controlling the debate. I think he realized that. And did you notice that, when Bregman would go after him, and immediately he has got this big smile on his face. And I don't think any of the other candidates smiled at all during that debate.
Yeah.
He was smiling. And it was just there was this smiling of I'm smart and you're full of shit and you're going to lose and we're going to win. I don't know what was going through his head, but he really I thought that was a huge win for him. It's a and Bregman just just reciting the typical communist bromides that they've been reciting forever. I mean, it never changes no matter what the language is, no matter where it is. I mean, it's truly remarkable. I mean,
I think, I mean, this
yeah,
debate, because it's so short, the
yeah,
interventions, it's hard to debate the idea. It's mostly like one phrase that they try to bring, attack someone, try to, you know, I don't know. The format could be
yeah,
better, I think, for a better debate. You can see also the quality of the candidates. Don't really know much deeper of
yeah,
each of them, but you could see who was a gentleman. Like I think
yeah,
this, we were talking about this, the government of Cordoba, even though he's like the with the lowest percentage thing in the elections right now, he seems to be the more respectful against Milei, against the other
yeah.
ones compared to.
I I didn't see anybody who was outwardly disrespectful. I mean, but maybe I missed some things because I'm not fluent in the language and I was just going on subtitles. But definitely, yeah, I got to say, I think that's a guy that Milei can work with, and
Yeah, yeah.
and I
I,
think
I
some
did.
of these, yeah,
Yeah, I think for me, maybe I don't know, maybe because I'm mother tongue Spanish, you feel different. I really felt the two lady candidates, especially, they were very aggressive, and at some point, I
yeah,
mean, I cannot tell a specific word, but it didn't seem so presidential. Like you feel that okay, this
yeah.
is what they're trying to give.
And maybe that sometimes I think maybe when women get into spaces like that, they feel like they have to overcompensate. They're
I mean,
they know they have a different voice tone, so they have to
it's
figure out a way. They almost have to be like the men, and then they try to be too much like the men with.
but I
Well,
don't know.
not,
I don't know if do you see also do you watch the debate of the vice presidents,
I
which
did
was
not see the vice presidential
that
one.
that one was really good because
Yeah,
it's the opposite. In this case, it's a lady, the vice president of Milei, and she was
yeah,
great. And the other vice president were all guys,
yeah.
and they were actually extremely disrespectful to her. And
They
it is
were.
it's because it's like, I mean, one of the things is like, oh, that they say to care with this, like for example, one of the minister that they want to close was this minister of women, and then they were all disrespectful to the only woman in the debate. So I think, you know, this is what brings part of the idea, like okay, what's really what people trying to say here, what's coming back to that. But yeah, coming back to this debate, yeah, this.
The vice presidential debate. Yeah. By the way, what do you think of Victoria via Raul
Villaruel.
via
Yeah, so I mean, so far what I
via
have.
Ruel? Yeah, I real please Victoria, accept my apologies. I've
Yeah,
butchered your name so many times on this show, and there's no excuse for it. Via Ruel, yes,
Villaruel, I
via
think is
Ruel,
the word.
yes.
Yeah, I think, I mean,
We'll just call her Queen Victoria. Yeah, no, yeah,
I feel like, I mean, I can only judge her from what I have seen
yeah,
online, of course. I feel like it's a good, like a good partnership with Milei. I think
yeah,
she's the other side. She's maybe a little bit more calm, more relaxed compared to like the Milei approach, but she also has a different background. What I understand from her part is like her dad was in the military and was like a veteran there in Argentina.
yeah,
So, and she's also more like an expert in the part of security and safety, which is like Millet is all in the economics and more, and she will be more interested in the part of like the internal security and safety, which is really a very important topic in Latin America. Like
yeah,
whoever is managing the internal security is one of the big reasons why people choose. And I feel like giving her a little bit more moderate way of being compared to Millet, that is a little bit more outgoing in that sense, I think bring the balance to the
yeah,
whole equation.
yeah,
So I think it's a interesting combination, and as we said, it's bringing the debate back for big
yeah.
debate to these ideas.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that. I don't know if I'd want to take time to do a VP analysis of debate, but maybe that might be worth doing. But so getting back
Yeah,
to where we were on the debate. But that's interesting. Sometimes when you have one woman, when you get two women, men'll be a little better because they realize, okay, there's two of them, we can't. But sometimes, yeah, it's like, okay, we'll all gang up on the one. I don't know what it is, but
hmm.
there's just a different psychology there. And then of course, Bullrich goes right after Milei about the dollarization, to it. And he's just smiling and shaking his head. It's like, yeah, it's like, there's a confidence, but not cockiness. And I think that's really,
Yeah, I think it's like
confidence. Yeah.
dollarization.
Yeah.
I mean, if one really understands his proposal like very deeply economically, what Milei the dollarization is just like the first step. He wants more an open market for currencies, and then let the people choose which currency, which I think is like the very libertarian approach to the whole idea. But the dollarization is like the, let's say, immediate proposal of, okay,
Yeah.
let's try to finish inflation. This is how dollarization will work. I'm not an expert to understand all the part that will go with this, but
Yeah.
I would say that other Latin American countries have go to
Yeah.
dollarization. I mean, my country in Panama, it's we use the dollar.
Yeah.
There's different reasons and different historical reasons why is that the case.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think at least gives more stability to the currency, which is
Yeah.
what Argentinians want right now.
Well, I think he's looking at this like a doctor. He's got to treat the immediate symptoms, but he also wants to, build some health in the patient. So
Yeah,
dollarization, I mean, I don't think he sees dollarization as a permanent solution to their problems, but he just sees, okay, this will stop the inflation, which is killing the country.
exactly.
And then after that he can build, get rid of these agencies and then build a healthy economy. Maybe
Exactly.
maybe go back to the peso, maybe go to Bitcoin,
Oh,
maybe start his own crypto and call it Milei coin. I don't know.
yeah.
It's a
Let the people choose, right? This is what it is. Let the people
yeah.
choose what the best
Maybe
currency
he'll
for
maybe
them.
he'll let in a few. Maybe he'll let in maybe it'll just be all cryptos. Yeah, yeah. So yeah,
I think that's the magic,
Milei
right? I
coin,
mean,
Milei money. Yeah,
yeah, you know, that's the magic, right? I mean,
yeah,
I don't see how this could go bad. You can choose different currencies and more stability than any currency that is not that stable. I don't see how that the repercussions in the long run.
Well, no fiat currency is stable, but when you're, it said, the dollar is a shit coin, but most of the currencies in South America smell a lot worse. So,
Yeah,
uh,
I think it,
so yes, so it,
yeah, it's exactly. I mean, in the in
yeah,
the in the ranking, yeah, yeah,
and there
that's
there and there are no good pesos anywhere.
yeah,
It doesn't look like.
exactly. Yeah,
When
this
you
is.
see I mean, Argentina would be better off if they went to the Mexican peso at this point. But
Mm, mm. I mean,
yeah,
also something people talk about as well is that dollarization, of course, Ecuador, El Salvador, and Panama, but even
yes,
Venezuela is now basically unofficially dollarized. If you talk to any Venezuelan, it's basically that's the currency because the
yeah,
bolivar was completely gone in terms of inflation.
yeah. That's
So, and it kind of, for all the problems Venezuela has, this seems to be something that gave a little bit of relief to the people in
yeah. And
Venezuela.
sometimes if you're in a restaurant or something, or taking a cab ride, and they'll take tips in dollars. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
that's why, yeah. If I go down there, I'm probably if I go down there, I'm probably going to go to the bank, go and maybe get like $101 bills or something like that, just so I have tip money. Just
mm,
it'll look like. Of course, that's never good because it'll look like, oh crap, he just has 100 bills.
just
But anyway,
keeping
yeah.
your own. Yeah,
But it is something to have, just so you have it. Yeah. So yeah, and then Milei, there was also a point where he really went after Massa. He does not like Massa. I
mm,
think probably of all of them, he likes Massa. He probably doesn't like Bregman,
mm.
but realized she's harmless. But he realized Massa's been in the establishment, so yeah, he goes after Massa. Just says,
Exactly. I mean, he's the current
like,
economic minister, and then
yeah,
an economic proposal could have done it beforehand, right? I think that's the main
yeah.
issue right now.
And maybe that is kind of the reason why Massa looked like that. Just like, okay, I know it's a mess, and I'm going to have to take answer to this and be part of this freaking debate, and I'm probably going to lose. And so yeah, it's a very
Mm.
interesting. Yeah, seeing, and yeah, so that was another thing, and I found Massa's shtick interesting too. When he goes, and then he says, then later he goes out and tries to play the tough guy. Says, we're going to be, he says jail for the tax evaders, jail for this. I mean, I said, oh geez, this guy seems like he's really the wannabe tyrant. Maybe not as maybe not as quite the level of Bregman, but yeah, he seems like he's the guy who's really going to just we'll fix it off. It's just And then I like how the end he says, "Be patriots, defend the currency." It's like, oh god.
I think they're also proposing like a type of online currency. I didn't really understand it. And this is something also like now since Milei got popular of like liberal economic ideas, the other candidates like are trying to replicate some of his own proposals, which is I think it's like we were talking like if he already win in that sense, like at least some of his ideas are becoming so popular that even like mainstream candidates are taking it. So at least that's something positive that people can see real changes that you know that might bring better life for people. At the end is what we want, right? Better people having better lives.
Yeah, people have better lives.
Yeah.
And Moss is really, I mean, and Massa was in second place, so he's naturally being in second place. You're going to expect him to go after Milei. I mean, he's got the most to gain. Yeah, I think that's it.
I think for him, I mean, I don't really know, but this is my feeling because I mean, they have the first round and then the second round.
Yeah.
But in theory, Milei could win in the first round. I think mostly, Massa's voters is like a strong base because it's like people that are related to the government or related to these political parties. So I think it depends more on the opposition vote. If he gets to already in the first round to take a lot of the vote from Bullrich, then he could already win in the first round, which is probably something they want to prevent. So I guess this is also how they managed who they attacked politically, because they probably doesn't want to also, I don't know, weaken so much her in her political stance, because then he could already have the vote in the first time. I don't know. I'm just speculating of how they could play around. Maybe they have a better chance in the second round than the first round if it's against Massa.
Yeah, and I assume all five are coming back for the next round. Yeah, and just to clarify too,
I think so
too, Milei got about 30%, Bullrich about 17, Massa about 21, and Schiaretti and Bregman really aren't really going to be factors because he was 3.83%, she was 1.87%. So, well, actually, with their coalition, 3.83 for Schiaretti and 2.65 for Bregman. I'm still not sure how this works here, but it's they're definitely the two biggest factors are. I mean, Bullrich. It's certainly Bullrich and Moss are still in the running, but I don't think the other two are really in the running. But yeah, they've met the threshold, so they've invited, so they still got theoretically have a shot, but maybe not realistically. So yeah, we had that part. I think. Yeah, and I think Massa was just and then Milei goes off and tells Bullrich that she basically has no plan.
I mean, it seems in the debate that she didn't talk about ideas, like it was attacking people, right?
I thought Milei was, and this is where I think Milei is. I'm finding that he's really, really brilliant here. There's a balance of the philosophical and the ideological and the practical, talking about things in philosophical terms that people can understand, but then also telling what we're going to do. It's like, like I said, he's going to treat the symptoms, but he's going to treat the disease too.
Exactly.
And you've got to, you do have to treat the symptoms first, but go out there and then fix the disease. And he talks about both equally. And I think in terms that people can understand, which is something so many economists cannot do that.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's one of his main things. There's so many people like him is because he can make it understandable to the general public.
There's so many great free market economists. I mean, they're great. They're great guys. They're great people. Great, but they're always using 4 and 5 syllable words. They're always, they just don't. Just put them out on the street and people are just gonna say, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah, exactly. Which I think that's like the philosophical, and also what we're trying to do here, right? Like, it's like if people will understand liberal economics and libertarian ideas explained in a way to the general public, most people will be say, hey, this makes sense. Oh, okay, this
Yeah.
makes sense. This could be better. This could actually, because people think, okay, libertarian. I don't know. In general, when I talk with friends or people related, they say like, oh, yeah, this is only for benefit of big companies and big corporations. Like,
Yeah.
no, this is more than that. This is
Yeah.
about like a very strong philosophical background, a strong main of
Yeah.
how to think, and how this could be extremely positive to people and for everyone. It's the benefit of everyone. But it's just people have to kind of like humble down, try to listen to different ideas, okay, and see,
Yeah.
okay, what makes sense from here. You don't have to agree with everything, but it's and this is why people also like love Millet because of that, because he's bringing this debate to people. Now people are more interested and say, oh, he's talking about this idea. Oh, he's talking about Milton Friedman. Oh, he's talking about these
Yeah.
economies. Oh, I'm a little bit more interested. I'm gonna read a little bit about it. I'm gonna Google Chris Baker that he's talking a little bit about libertarian. Let's see what he has to say. Let's listen to what people have to say, what the ideas are. I think, yeah, it's just part of
Yeah.
the.
And I did find it interesting too. I think Massa was also the first who used up all five of his replies. I mean, but Milei also used all five of his replies in this round because I think he understood that was what people are talking about.
Yeah,
That was what he knows, and that was what he could really slam everybody on. And
I think
Schiaretti had used four of them by the time the economy round was over. Yeah.
I think just to be very objective, I think in terms of what Millet should, like, I don't know, fix for the next debate, and I hope
Yeah.
his advisors bring it up, because I mean he's used to this long format where he can just talk and talk and talk and talk and send
Yeah.
information, and now you could see that sometime in a minute he's trying to formulate something and it's gone, which is a lot of practice. It's not easy to debate, especially if they give you 30 seconds to answer how you're going to fix a country. It's almost impossible. You have to kind of just tell bites that people can grab. It's not really about the idea. So I hope he works on that, because in some part I felt like, okay, you could have said a little bit better. It kind of felt first short, and especially if you have to either use this time for defending yourself or attacking others. That's also, I don't know what's the best approach here. I don't think this going attacking just by attacking is not a good thing, but yeah, it's some pieces there to fix in terms of his delivery.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's always room for improvement. I mean, I'm sure, I'm curious now. He's probably going to watch this debate and see what he can make better for the second round because they're going to come back and prepare and see how people react. I don't know. Maybe they'll if it's on YouTube and stuff, they'll be looking at YouTube
Mhm.
comments and that's another thing. Milei has really gotten out there and learned how to use the new media to
Yeah,
its credit. And sometimes I wonder also if we'll have elections that aren't really maybe we won't have debates, but we'll just have every presidential candidate in America will just go on Joe Rogan for 3 hours,
yeah,
and we'll all evaluate them from that.
yeah.
It doesn't allow for a reply, but it really does allow for these guys to elaborate because you can't really a debate really doesn't give you the space to sum it up. I guess
No,
also from
exactly.
what I'm reading too, it looks like these are mandated debates. I mean, it's kind of the government does them and they all show up and I don't know if there are penalties for not showing up, but
Yeah,
they
I
all
think
showed up. Yeah,
I'm not sure if there's of all the
yeah,
penalty, but I think
yeah,
if they don't show up, they will not, the media will not show them anymore. They kind of block
yeah,
their, which I think is good. I mean, kind of you need to
yeah.
talk, even though the format is not the best, but at least to show there for the people. I
Yeah.
think it's a. How did
I
you find out of Millet? Just is my question.
How did I find out about Millet?
Yeah.
Well, I've been active in American libertarian politics for a long time, and the first I actually did learn about him earlier this year because one of my libertarian friends did a show with a volunteer, a guy working on Milei's campaign, and
I said.
that's Joram, who's also from an American who lives down there. So he's been on this show talking about Milei, and then of course
Mhm.
when the primary election happened, coverage just exploded. I mean, I think this was suddenly the thing. Lots of libertarians were talking about it, what was going on, what he might do, what he could accomplish. I mean, it definitely sent. I mean, he's
Yeah.
got a lot. And then I think there was the Tucker Carlson interview, which probably brought him even more attention. But I've done.
Yeah.
I mean, I was kind of going at a slow pace with podcasting, but then it's like, oh, this guy. Let's let's binge on this guy and we'll talk about
Yeah.
this guy.
I was
This
not
is my
expecting that.
16th show discussing Milei.
Yeah, I was not expecting that. I mean, I knew he was going to
Yeah,
Tucker Carlson. I would not expect that it would be like the most watched interview, especially in English. He's a candidate from Argentina, Spanish, Latin American, then Tucker Carlson, American, English, and
yeah,
his interview was the most watched ever, I think, in the internet. So
yeah,
I think it says how much people want to, I don't know, learn about new ideas of economics, and they kind of know that things can get better.
yeah.
It's like the
Yeah, and then one thing, one thing about Bregman, I mean, granted, I know she's a communist, but to their credit, sometimes the communists they do identify some of the right villains, and she constantly went after the International Monetary Fund. I'm thinking, as a libertarian, I'm thinking, yes, you're right, Miriam, it's evil for the wrong you have the wrong reasons, but you're right, it is evil, you know. Uh, so yeah, she went after that, and then went after Milei's dollarization plan in her 2 minutes of, and so then yeah, so then they went up to this next topic, which was of course the education topic.
Mhm.
This was very interesting. I have to admit, this is where Schiaretti kind of scared me. He says, "Oh, we now have 3 and 4 year olds going to school, being forced to go to school." It's like being unschooling. I'm like, oh my gosh, and that's apparently in Cordoba. But yeah, and then Bullrich responded to Milei's schooling stuff. Just apparently he was fine with the schools being closed or something like that. I'm not really sure what was up with that. But
I think I watched an interview of him afterwards,
yeah,
just after the debate, and
yeah,
he was basically saying that was a lie. I mean, that's according to him, that
yeah,
he never said anything about that. That he actually did the whole documental when that was happening, and yeah, so
yeah. So that was the next portion, too. And I think,
I think that the voucher system. I mean, it's a system that, I mean, first of all,
yeah,
there are countries that are using the voucher system. I think in Sweden, I think most
yeah,
like 90% at least of schools are privately owned but
yeah,
public funded, I think. And
yeah,
it's a system that, if done correctly, could
yeah.
really change education system in most countries. I
Well,
think.
I suppose most of the schools are connected to the church. I don't know, but I know sometimes you have a lot of schools that are connected with the churches in some Spanish speaking countries. But this was another place too, though, where Milei brought up. He says we're no longer going to have people just giving people fish. We're going to
Mhm,
teach them to fish, and I just thought, yes, that is
exactly.
one of the beautiful analogies. But it's been one of the great free market analogies, and I think he just
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. And I think it's something when I have this talking with friends or whatever. If you ask someone, whatever country they are, and they start defending or against the voucher system, I ask them, okay, do you know how to build a company in your country, or what do you have to do? And they cannot answer that. And it's like,
Yeah,
it's crazy that in the school system you never learn basic things of like how you build a company or how you register your company in your own country. Like,
yeah.
it should be like everyone knows that. It's like,
I some thing people tell me about Mexico is that apparently everybody in Mexico learns how to sell at one point in their life. It's just I don't know
how
if
to
they
what?
get good at it. They learn how to sell
Okay,
anything, but because
okay.
especially because and I noticed this too, just between Mexico and America, which I talk about a lot. I've noticed that Mexico has a lot more what I would call micro businesses, just a small business that you could start for maybe $1,000 or $2,000. Like you might see a guy standing on the street corner with a taco trailer. You know, there
Yeah.
isn't a whole lot of money you got to put into doing that. He's got to get the trailer, get the food, or I saw one guy who just had a little house, just had a little shop where he made keys.
Mhm.
All he had to do was go buy a machine to make keys and buy the keys.
Yeah.
You know, very 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 easy to go into a business like that. But it just seemed to be the Mexican way, or just restaurants that were really small. Maybe the size of a 2 or 3 car garage. Yeah. So
I think this is
I don't
general
know
in
how
Latin
Argentina
America.
compares, but yeah,
This is
yeah,
general Latin America that people make
yeah,
these small businesses,
yeah.
and I mean, to some extent, a lot is like, let's say, not recognized by the government, or they are
Yeah.
more unofficial. Let's put it in this way, and because
Oh
of
yeah.
this, this kind of leniently that governments not doesn't get too much involved into this. Like, okay, they let them go so people can have their own thing, which I think is like what brings you to this topic, right? Like when people are allowed to do their own thing, they can, fight back, grow their own businesses, try to, build their own resources for themselves and try to create value, which I think is what's important, right? And
Yeah, definitely. It's and I've heard that you have to go through a lot of hoops just to start a business down there, which is really
mm,
Argentina has some very bad ratings in economic freedom. I mean, they're almost as bad as some of the worst countries in the world, like Venezuela. At least what I saw from the Fraser Institute recently.
mhm,
So we get to about the halfway point here, and and already Bullrich and Schiaretti are down to one reply left too. The Bregman had three left.
mhm,
It seemed like she really wanted to save her replies for the last topic. So, and she started, and this was now the democracy and the whole human rights thing.
mhm,
And this was where Bregman kind of showed her cred because she first of all talked about Nelson Mandela, and then she talked about Jose Mujica in Uruguay, who I
mhm.
have to say Mujica is a very interesting individual, a guy who was president but didn't take in all the pomp and circumstance. Still president, but he's still riding his bike and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Those are I can kind of like some of those socialists because I think they're more sincere, but they're definitely. And then she talked, and then she went in and talked about the death of a guy named Santiago Maldonado. I had to look him up, but they were protesting and
Mhm.
blocking the streets, and apparently they all and to run away from the police, they all ran into water, and Maldonado apparently drowned in that water, and that was like,
Oh, okay. Oh.
yeah, histrionics about that. So yeah,
Mhm,
and
mm,
then we go back to where Milei cites his Alberto Benegas Lynch, well-known Austrian economist
mhm,
who is in South America. I'm following him on Twitter. That's where Milei's learned learned a lot from him. So that
mhm.
but this was kind of an uneventful section, I think, because most people had used up all the replies except Bregman. It really
Yeah, I am.
that kind of made it an interesting thing for Bregman though, because she could kind of shine during this whole third. You had these three categories where you had economy, education, and then just human rights and democracy, and that was interesting. I think the one thing though too that I found interesting is it's really was the realization that it takes a long time for any country to heal from a civil war, and
Mhm.
it makes me wonder if the country ever fully does. They were still talking about the what happened in the '70s, the dictatorship, the civil war, and it's really not a happy thing to think about, but
Yeah, yeah. That's in
it
like
was still on everybody's minds. And I mean, I think about how long it took America to get over its own civil war, and it seems like I don't know if American maybe. Well, it's not. It's all the people who were alive during the Civil War have to die, but then all the people who knew somebody who was alive during the Civil War have to die. So
mm, it takes generations, right?
yeah, it
That's,
takes generations. Yeah,
and
yeah,
some people always never, yeah, they want justice
yeah,
sometimes. It's,
yeah. And then here's where Massa I think definitely went on the offensive here, and I
mm,
thought he brought up. I don't know if Milei came out looking best on this, but he brought up
mm.
Milei's comments about the Pope, who
Oh, yeah.
basically is a communist. Uh, I have no, but what have people said about that? Said about Milei's comments about the Pope. Do you think he's got a? Do you think that's hurt him in Argentina, or do you think it's helped him? I mean,
I mean,
I,
I think
I don't really. I'm not on the pulse of Argentina right now, so I can't really say for sure.
I would say more or less in general Latin America, which is very strong Catholic, they
Yeah,
see the Pope. Um, I think there's this cognitive debate between people when if they will see the Pope, I don't know, not condemning someone like Maduro in Venezuela, for
yeah,
example, which I
yeah,
think everyone knows how the situation there, right? Like,
yeah,
so I think that's where the Milei's comment come from. This, I mean, from I don't know his own heat about that, which I don't think is something he should do, because I think many people, the figure of the Pope, whoever it is, for
yeah,
many people is very important, and it's kind of like, yeah, you don't want to get into this topic, especially religion. He doesn't really win anything. Many
Yeah.
people still really believe like this, they that
Yeah.
the Pope is the Pope and should be respected no matter what.
Yeah.
And I
And
think he understands that, and he knows like his ideas and his own like views. They also have to know that he needs to like bring people together, and bring people together, it means that you have to respect their beliefs. So yeah, but what I like is that he actually humbled down there. He said, "Yeah, I made a mistake. I should have not get into this." He has nothing to,
yeah.
like we say, he doesn't win anything like
Yeah.
attacking the Pope. But better that he tried to, bring peace into this situation, which I think, I don't know. I feel like his answer was better. Maybe for people that didn't know he attacked the Pope, then he can kind of research about it, and they will,
Yeah.
maybe I don't like Millet anymore. But for other people, who say, oh, that's kind of like he humbled down and he just showed that he can accept when he made mistakes, and that he's willing to bring people together, which I think is always the main fear, is that he get into power and then he cannot bring the rest of the people together and he cannot make
Yeah.
anything done, which I think is part of politics in any country. You need to kind of find middle ground so people support you in your
Yeah.
ideas, right?
Yeah. This was from the what I'd call the one-on-one round in the debate, where they had three times, where basically everybody would get 15 seconds to ask a question of the other candidate, and then the candidate would have 45 seconds to respond.
Mhm.
And everybody got to ask everybody. So
Yeah, I think that's
Milei
cool.
got to ask everybody. Everybody got to ask him.
Yeah,
And so it worked out. I think that's a very fair format.
yeah, I like it as well.
Yeah, I thought that was. In fact, if you could do that for just, if you could probably do that, but then maybe do it for like 4 hours, I think it would, and just
Yeah,
or maybe 3 hours, just the way they just give them another round where they can all ask each other questions. I think that would, I
yeah,
don't know. Maybe I might make it something more like maybe 30 seconds and 90 seconds, but instead of the 15:45. But you're dealing with the time constraints, and it seems like maybe 2 hours is just as long as you can go with something like this.
hmm.
And then of course we saw Milei. He went right after Bregman, and boy, he went right after it. Said, you talk about communism, you have this
Yeah,
150 million debt, and you ignore this. I said, okay, thank you. Yeah,
yeah,
and he was
and what
diplomatic.
Yeah, and she mentioned
Yeah,
something which is like Rincón del Vago, which is for people in Argentina and Latin America. It was a website where people, like my generation, would look for homeworks. Like that's
yeah,
before like the other things got popular. So I kind of like very, I would say, old school in her answer. It's like, okay,
yeah,
no one used that anymore. It's just like maybe 10, 15 years ago that
yeah,
maybe the website doesn't exist. Uh, but
yeah,
yeah, I think he went directly to attack her with
yeah.
with this, and yeah, she didn't really could say much about it.
Yeah, and then he went after, went after Massa and Bullrich again, and notice also he was just smiling. In fact, during Bullrich, he was just laughing when she was answering about inflation. I don't know what. Could they see him or not? Did they, are they just looking at the camera? Or are they seeing all the other candidates?
Good question. Good question. I mean,
Because
I
I'm
guess
wondering if they go back a bit. I bet I could just imagine thinking, why is he laughing at me? You.
yeah,
Yeah, I can just imagine what's going through their minds. It's
yeah.
there's really, and I didn't see anybody else. I don't know if I've ever seen a candidate in any debate ever laugh like that.
Hmm. Huh.
I'm trying, maybe Ronald Reagan with Jimmy Carter, but that's about it. I mean,
I think this show why his passion, right? He's
yeah,
showing that he thinks he's just a clean conscience. Like, I mean, that's what I guess that's what
yeah,
he feels for himself. Like he's just going with a clean conscience, and he's just
yeah,
saying what he thinks is the best for the people, and that allows him to
yeah,
take it like a different stance.
yeah,
Of course, these debates are hard, right? Like you
yeah,
kind of have to cope somehow with the whole pressure
yeah.
of everyone watching you and being live and everything. So
Yes, and then Miriam Bregman, our wonderful communist, naturally brought up the wage gap between men and women. He says,
mm.
well, if you look at the professions and account for all things, that doesn't exist.
Yeah, I think their Millet wanted to give a very detailed answer and couldn't in this
Yeah,
40 seconds, which I think turns down like it didn't really make sense for anyone that have not listened to Milei before.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if he got. I mean, well, he says, well, one reason why there's a wage gap is because men are a lot more likely to go into jobs that might kill them. That would be one answer I'd get. And so they get paid for that, and that's true.
Yeah, that's true.
That might be the easiest way to sum it up. Yeah, if there's a higher risk of being killed, that means you get paid more. Whether it be the two most dangerous jobs I always think of are fishing and lumberjacking. Catching fish and cutting down trees. So yeah, yeah. So
yeah, I mean, in general, right? Work the jobs that no one want to do, right?
Yeah.
And this is about the market, right? This is also brings a lot about the market. You get paid more for jobs that are harder or no one want to do. And this is instead of thinking everyone is equal, you think about, okay, you do a job that no one wants to do, you're gonna get paid more.
Well, if you work on roofs of people's houses, there's some danger there too. I mean, jobs,
yeah.
I mean, things like that, and these are also jobs that are definitely more on the essential level. They're not jobs where you're just going to meetings and pushing papers. But I don't want to go down this rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Milei asks, Schiaretti for cooperation, and he responds positively. Again, I think that's a guy. I don't know what's going to happen, what that guy's future is, and he's pretty old. He probably won't stay in politics much longer. But that seems like a guy that Milei could cooperate with. He definitely came off as one of the more likable candidates. And
yeah, I think he also represents like what we call the interior, because I know most of the population is in the capital.
Oh yeah.
So he kind of will bring the idea, even though probably in their vision is a bit different, but like in terms of bringing people together, he could be this message, right, of bringing people from like the outside the capital.
Yeah, well, something I've learned, something I've especially learned with South America is that a lot of these countries really are dominated by the capital.
Yeah.
I mean, the capital has, the metro area around the capital might have 30% or even 40% of the country's population.
Yes.
Or
even more.
It's usually the one. It's usually the one. The one international airport hub. It's the, it's where all the airlines are, and it's where it's the capital and the business center. You look at the USA. It's very much more. It's much more distributed. America has over 330 million people, and the metro area around, our capital might be, I'm going wide here, but it might be 5 or 6 million people around that area. It's very distributed, and look at all the cities in America, that get numerous, international air flights in the air too. You're in Germany, so Germany's also somewhat distributed that way too.
Yeah, exactly. I think in Europe you see most.
Berlin does not dominate Germany.
No, not at all. Not at all. It's the most populated, but in comparison to the rest of the country, it's not at all. Which I think that's why also like it's better. Also, having this separation that each region can, like.
And a lot of these countries, you have the capital might have 10 million people or something like that, and then the next metro area might have 1 million. It's so much. It's the big city, and it's undisputedly the big city.
I'm looking. I think Buenos Aires is like 15 million, more or less.
Yeah,
and the whole country is like 40 million. So it's like
something like that. Yeah, Cordoba. I can tell there's probably a difference here though with the people and the other towns and the other and then we get to the the final part where they all have 1 minute to close.
Mm-hmm.
And Milei goes and says, it's insane to think that you can get different results by doing the same thing. And for whatever reason, he took his glasses off toward the end. I don't know what that signified, but that was interesting.
Right. Maybe he's trying to say something. Yeah.
I don't know if that was just a reason, but I don't think anything he did was very accidental. I think these guys are very deliberate. They probably rehearse these debates and not like this show, which we basically just did off the cuff. But
now he has a lot of political advisors and image advisors who tell him that. Yeah. How do you, just a personal question here, like with, like, let's say he gets to win, do you think they could influence in your country? Like you would see the libertarian candidate in the main debates of the election, so that's still far away in the US.
Americans pay less and less attention, pay a very small amount of attention to other countries. I don't know if that's because America is so big and vast. I don't know if it's just because they don't care. I mean, usually of course, you do have Americans who have cousins or have relatives or have friends, and they pay attention. But Americans otherwise are very much inward looking. They don't pay attention. I mean, I've noticed, that certainly a lot of libertarians in other Spanish speaking countries are looking at Milei. Uh, I've been looking at Milei because I have to admit I don't have a lot of faith in America, so I'm definitely looking at possibly, hey, maybe this is a place where I want to go move.
Mm.
So I definitely think there's some things to look at here. I do see that. I mean, I have said that this could be the democratic and capitalist equivalent of the Bolshevik Revolution. I
Mm.
I mean, that's a far fetched comment, but that is the best case scenario, and that it really does maybe change things in the world and set things in a new direction, because this is electoral success that's nobody's come close to this.
Yeah, 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 that's true.
That I
I
can
mean,
think of
it seems
anyway.
like, right? If in
But
10 years the economy
yeah,
of Argentina just goes to
yeah,
the sky, it's just every
and
country will say, "Let's do the Millet formula."
you've already, Argentina lowered their voting age to 16. He's got a lot of young voters. I think you're already going to have so he's already getting a lot, and this is I don't know. When did you first become aware of politics? I would say for me it was around 8 or 9 years old. I can remember, and when you started maybe watching the news a little bit and forming opinions on politics.
Mm.
He's getting them at that point where they form these ideas and come up with these ideas. And a lot of times people do not change their mind that much once they establish them. In some ways, I think people form their political opinion, form their political philosophy at a time where their life doesn't necessarily depend on it as much.
I feel like in general, from what I understood, like a lot of the old generation in Argentina were more in the, let's say, left socialist side.
Yes.
So it's like this kind of counter ideology of the younger generation saying we want the opposite. We want to be more into like the
Yes.
liberal economics, more libertarian, like more liberalism of classical liberalism. And yeah, I mean, there's probably a response to that, right? I guess you cannot avoid
Yeah.
economics, right? If you if you I don't
Yeah.
know, even if you're a kid, right? And they give you amount of money every month, your parents to eat, and then 1 month later everything's more
Yeah.
expensive, and then next month is more expensive, and next month everything is more expensive. Like there's something happening that make no sense. Like there's something that is systematically going wrong here, and people been living like that for years now, like decades maybe. That the inflation just go change so fast that you see like, okay, this just don't make any sense.
Yeah. And when you hear these, and I think sometimes, too, when you hear kids, when kids now hear their parents talk about the bad times, their grandparents talk about the bad times, and maybe even their great grandparents talk about the bad times, and they're naturally wondering when there were ever any good times.
Yeah.
Uh, and I don't know if this goes into Strauss-Howe generational theory, that maybe this could be the new rebellion. But yeah, it's almost this sense of and I sometimes wonder if that's just what everybody's thinking.
Mm.
We've been doing this for so long; it's never worked. We got to do something. We got to
Yeah.
go and do the exact opposite of what we've been doing. Well, you don't necessarily want to throw out everything you've been doing, but when it gets that bad, and people said to me, and it said, America still hasn't gotten bad enough to really do something radical.
Yeah. Yeah.
And fortunately, you also have what seems to be a fairly healthy multi-party system. America has this broken
Mm.
two-party system that will never work. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's
yeah.
true. Yeah, to give
So
more options,
yeah,
right? People want to have
yeah,
more debate, ideas, right? New ideas, new people,
yeah,
new movements. I think also for in general, just looking at the vision of Latin America, if you see really each country, so like in terms of like culturally, they're extremely similar. Of course, language, religion, basically the same. uh, One thing that could be very fundamental for the region is that if these free market ideas with Milei goes well in Argentina are like doing correctly and the economy goes well, this could go to open the market between Latin America, which will be like, the biggest, the next step is that you have this free trade between the countries, which will make a lot of sense just for the benefit of everyone, similar to like, let's say the States in the US or in the European Union, where they still maintain their own, let's say, own autochthony, but free trade, right? It's just so many benefits. Like one could think about it, like liberalizing the market in Latin America. Just that will be just such a benefit. Which I hope that these ideas just move around the whole thing. That instead of being all separated in individual countries, they could just be in one big thing, trading together and improving the quality of life of everyone.
yeah. It could definitely improve the quality of life of everybody. I think it's definitely going to be very interesting to see how this works out. You mentioned Villaruel. Is there anything else?
Villaruel,
What?
Villaruel, yeah, the vice president.
Villaruel, yeah,
I think,
yeah. Gosh, I need to.
I think that's her. Yeah, Villaruel.
Villaruel,
Yeah,
Villaruel, Villaruel,
yeah,
Villaruel.
it's hard to pronounce. I can see it. The double L, double R.
Well, sometimes you just you switch the vowels and stuff like that. Villaruel, yeah. So yeah, I may want to look up that debate and see how she did. That might be very
Yeah,
interesting, worth watching. I don't know if it's worth doing a full show on the analysis because I don't know how if she's quite the libertarian Milei is. Uh, you know, so how'd you? Just curious. You're from Panama. Do you think you
yeah,
might go back to Panama, or what? Why do you think? What took you to Germany? What do you think is going to keep you? Think it'll keep you there? Or,
yeah. I mean, in terms of the future,
yeah,
you never know.
I hear about
Yeah,
a lot. I hear a lot. A lot of American expats move to Panama, but I never hear about any American expats moving to Germany. So yeah,
different place. I would say
yeah,
is a complete different vision. Yeah, I don't know, not really.
yeah.
I'm a scientist, so I do research. So that's also what brought me to Germany to do
Oh
research
yeah,
with. Yeah, and it's also important. And in general, yeah, I mean, I don't know. The thing is, in Panama
yeah.
also, I mean, it's quite stable. So I wouldn't
Oh yeah,
say in terms of politics and everything, it's quite a stable country
yeah,
and democracy works. But there's
yeah,
no really like much of a difference between the candidates.
yeah,
Now you see in Argentina there are like clear visions. Panama, it's
yeah,
just different names, but
yeah,
you don't really see a difference between them.
yeah. I mean, that's the thing. What I'm hearing too is this might inspire another generation of Milays,
Yeah,
who go into politics. Well, this has been a
exactly.
good talk. Do you have anything else to say before we go?
Well, I think it's yeah. I mean, thank you for having me here, and
Yeah,
I think for everyone just looking at it is it's just basically trying to really try to take the time to understand what are the
yeah,
proposals, because I think people just hear something and they associate it with negative things which make no sense, instead of
yeah,
really, okay, let's learn a little bit of basic economics, see what are the proposal, the philosophical things, and why this could be benefit. It's not like,
yeah,
this is for the benefit of people. Yeah,
yeah. And
that's the way I
where
see
can
it.
we find you out on the interwebs?
Yeah,
You got your YouTube channel, and
yeah, sure. Yeah,
yeah, okay. Well, your YouTube channel. Yeah, I'm Chris Baker. Please like the video, subscribe, thumbs up, follow the channel. Go buy my novel Escape from the Village, and check out my Substack. And it's been great having you on here, Andres Carbonell, and we're out.
thanks a lot, Chris. Ciao.
Yeah.